is a project built around one specific but highly effective technology that allowed Ducati to become an 8-time World Superbike champion and to win the MotoGP World Championship for the first time. While in 2007 most manufacturers switched to pneumatic valves in an effort to get the most out of the engines reduced by regulations, Ducati remained true to their traditions and the Desmodromic valve drive. Casey Stoner speeds the 800cc bike to an incredible 340 km per hour, sets a new speed record, and becomes the MotoGP champion. And when in that same 2007 the Italians announced the road version of their championship-winning bike named the Desmosedici RR, the whole world held its breath in anticipation of the most powerful motorcycle in history. To change Now, as is tradition, there will be a brief historical introduction. It is very important because it will answer a question that many die-hard Ducati fans have. Why did the company switch from a 2-cylinder to a 4-cylinder engine configuration in their flagship machines? The decision for Ducati to enter the Premier class was made in the spring of 2001. By that time, the factory had already won 8 titles and 9 Constructors' Cups in World Superbike. The powerful V-twin with a Desmodromic valve system was no longer suitable for the Grand Prix. Although the V-twin had an advantage of almost 10 kilograms over inline 4s and other configurations, the large size of the pistons maintained a high risk of local overheating and engine failure. Moreover, such an engine could not theoretically develop more than 230 horsepower. The engineers specifically chose a 4-cylinder L-shaped engine with a Desmodromic valve drive, with 4 valves per cylinder. As a result, approximately a 989 cubic centimeter engine was created. It was named Desmosedici, Desmo 16, referring to the 16-valve configuration. This started the story of a project that was fascinating from all perspectives. The Italians created a motorcycle that became a star and remained so even in the worst years. And the modern Desmosedici GP21 is simply a masterpiece of engineering design at its peak. By direct analogy with MotoGP, modern Ducati motorcycles feature 4 cylinders to keep up with the simple arms race. The V-twin is not competitive in the market. Racing is in Ducati's blood. And every time you think of the term homologation in relation to motorcycles, the first thing that comes to mind is the factory in Borgo Panigale area of Bologna, Italy. The company has a long history of creating limited edition versions of its high-performance sports machines. There is no doubt that the Italians will undoubtedly release a true Grand Prix replica. Of course, the Japanese could just as easily build a road version of their MotoGP machines, but Ducati is the only manufacturer that has definitely made it as close to the real thing as possible. The terms passion and pride are often used to describe Italy's relationship with its cars, but the Desmosedici RR is a perfect example of why these two words truly and deeply indeed apply to people. A Desmodromic V-shaped 4-cylinder engine with a displacement of 989 cubic centimeters and a gear drive. It is a work of art, especially considering the fact that it was designed and built from scratch. Contrary to popular belief, although the engine is very similar to the GP06 power unit, it is not an exact copy. Instead, it was designed and built specifically for the Desmosedici RR, but naturally, it uses all the experience and developments gained from racing. It delivers 200 horsepower, which today doesn't seem like an impressive figure, but in 2007, no sport bike could boast such a herd. The engine, just like the racing prototype, uses a Desmodromic timing drive. The Desmodromic system not only opened the valves but also closed them, so no springs. This results in all advantages, like the impossibility of the valve meeting the piston and the astonishing engine RPM. Together with the gear drive, this entire mechanical symphony could easily compete with the notorious pneumatics, smoothly revving up to 20,000 revolutions per minute. This is evidenced by Casey Stoner's results in the same 2007. And in general, Meanwhile, have you seen what Ducati does on the straights? Especially at speeds approaching 300 kilometers per hour. Their engines seem to never fade. It's not surprising, as you can find information on the internet that modern Desmosedici engines produce power close to 300 horsepower, and they are still based on the Desmodromic valve drive. In addition to the Desmo, the engine inherited the twin-pulse firing order, which mimics the operation of a V-twin. Everything else, both literally and figuratively, revolves around the engine. It's classic Ducati, where the engine serves as the main load-bearing element, allowing the motorcycle's weight to be reduced to 171 kilograms. This resulted in an impressive power-to-weight ratio for that time. There was a time when only the Bimoto DB7, weighing 160 kilograms and producing 160 horsepower, could achieve a 1-to-1 ratio, reading comments from journalists about how golden that result was. Suspension and brakes, best at that time. It's the first production motorcycle with a MotoGP spec fork. Wait, it's actually the first MotoGP replica for the streets. The Öhlins FG 353P fork, Brembo monoblock brakes, and magnesium wheels. Exceptional components generate exceptional performance. The lightweight motorcycle hit the first 100 in less than 3 seconds and covered a quarter mile in 9.49 seconds at a speed of over 250 kilometers per hour. And this is faster than the officially recognized fastest accelerating production motorcycle, the Kawasaki ZX-14R, which clocks in at 9.78 seconds. Production sport bikes couldn't reach the level of the Desmosedici for many years. It got to the point where magazine editors would just take a 2007 Ducati and pit it against everything available on the market in 2012, creating a sort of comparative test. The Desmo outperformed everyone. The Desmosedici engine served as the inspiration for the Stradale R engine, which was installed in Ducati motorcycles starting with the V4 model. Today, it is the most powerful engine from the Italians, producing 234 GP in the Panigale Superleggera version. In turn, it is capable of kicking the H2R's butt in acceleration up to 300 km per hour. It is undoubtedly the best naturally aspirated piston engine. 1 liter and 16,000 revolutions per minute, that's all I have to say. It's a pity that finding a proper test drive or reading a quality review isn't so easy. Only 1,500 units were produced. But just look at this execution. Yes, the Japanese make excellent motorcycles, probably the best in terms of price and quality. Italy, passion, monumentality is considered in every cast detail of motorcycles like the Desmo. Look at how the exhaust is arranged. It exits where the passenger seat usually is and points straight to the sky. So this is a unique type of exhaust, not under but above the seat. Personally for me, this is one of the most charismatic design elements in modern motorcycles. From the information available in the public domain, it can be concluded that the motorcycle is a bit unstable at idle and low revs, but it has a very smooth power range from 3 to 9,500 RPM. This is the most comfortable operating mode for the engine. Next, the engine power begins to grow exponentially as the Desmo eagerly devours high revs. The notorious Desmodromic system here unleashes the engine's potential to its fullest. No matter what his opponents wrote, thanks to its low weight and chassis, which is almost identical to the GP06 chassis, it takes corners much more easily than the vast majority of sport motorcycles. And flipping the motorcycle from full lean on one side to the other in slow or fast chicanes requires less effort than expected. This indeed indicates that the Desmosedici RR was truly the most powerful and incredibly sport motorcycle of its time. Even the special homologations for superbike racing that Ducati has produced over the years pale in comparison to the Desmosedici RR. The exclusivity and quality of the components were unmatched at the time of release and for many years after. The very fact that Ducati had the ambition and drive to create such a motorcycle speaks volumes about the company's enthusiasm for racing and its commitment to its products. And while everyone was thrilled by the sound of the 1198R at high revs, the distinctive whine from the Desmosedici RR sent chills down their spines. I remember reading a foreign review translated in our magazine when I was 14 years old, and I couldn't understand why it cost so much money. How little I understood back then.